6 o'clock, we'll call the November 25th, 2019 Grafton Education Board meeting to order.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. This time is set aside for public comment. Folks out there, Renee.
Something? Yes. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Renee Riddle, representing the Grafton Education Foundation tonight. We always like to send a representative so you can know what we're up to in our part of the world. Well, first of all, anyone who's going to be at the holiday parade this weekend, you will see us towards the front of the parade. Just look for a bright green, and you know, and also a walking apple. So that's been a great tradition for us, and we're happy to be part of the Grafton community through the parade. A reminder that our Seeds to Harvest, that's our direct mail campaign, is ongoing. To date, we've raised about $7,500. December, obviously a big month for us as people determine their year-end giving. So we look forward to that being a major piece of our fundraising for the Grafton Education Foundation. So if you received green envelopes in the mail, we hope that you put them at the top of your to-do pile and think about the GEF. Portraits in the Park this year, you may have heard it was rescheduled multiple times, unfortunately because of the weather. Finally, we had a beautiful day, and that raises several $100s for us, so we appreciate all the Grafton families who make that a part of their annual tradition, getting their photograph with us. We are really excited to announce that we're going to start a student ambassador program. So basically, we're going to be looking to Grafton High School to audition a couple of kids that will be representatives at our meetings and come and then hopefully spread the word throughout the student body as to what the Grafton Education Foundation is. So just like we are doing here with this little reciprocal announcement, we hope to do the same with Grafton students. It will be like a January to January position. So we're going to start that up pretty soon. And we hope that we have some interest with Grafton High School students. Sophomores and juniors will probably apply first to become a representative for that following year on our board. So we are looking forward to that. We also want to remind everyone that the U.S. Bank Night of Giving is April 18th. Now this replaces the Super Bowl, so we want everyone to help spread the word about that. The Super Bowl traditionally was in January. We decided after 7 years it was time to refresh the event. So there will be no more Super Bowl. It will be the U.S. Bank Night of Giving, April 18th, back in Grafton at the River Room, and there'll be a kind of a different type of event. But with a lot of the same elements, there will still be the reverse raffle. But another big signature part of the evening is going to be our Educator of the Year Award. And so we'll be nominating both teachers and staff at all the district schools and providing an outlet for community recognition. And so we're hoping that that is just a really great signature event. So look forward to more details. There'll be a video coming out about the whole nomination process. So we hope to get the details out for that and start recognizing all the fabulous educators that we have throughout the Grafton School District. We are also looking for a fund need for that event. We usually look to the district to get some ideas. So for example, last year, our fund need was the school store. And that was super successful. The school store is in the planning stages, and hopefully we'll be seeing it in reality next year. So we are looking for that, and that's just an opportunity during the evening when kind of all the activities stop, and we ask everyone if they just want to do an outright donation. We earmark that money for whatever the fund need for that year is. So we are looking for ideas. And then just a reminder that our Color Blast, which is another one of our signature events, it was typically always held at the end of school. It will not be held in this calendar year because we're pushing it back to be more of a start off the school event. So instead of that being in May or June, it will be in August or September. We still haven't figured out the exact date. So that's it from the Grafton Education Foundation. Any questions for me? Yep. Well, we appreciate your support, and the relationship continues to grow. So look for the green and the Jolly Green candy we will be throwing on Saturday.
Thank you, Renee. Thanks for your work on the foundation, for the foundation's work on behalf of the district, and for always sending representation here. so you can stay connected and up to date on what's going on. Much appreciated. Thank you. We have a few items on the consent. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda for this evening. The approval of the minutes from the October 28th board meeting and the statement of receipts and expenditures for October. Motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. And then to the superintendent's report, Jeff.
Yes, so it seems like a lot longer than a month ago that we met, and at that time in my comments, if you look at the minutes, I talked about the every 15 minutes presentation that we had at Grafton High School. Following that was the community presentation that was going to be occurring, and so we have, because both the teacher and the 2 students were intricately involved in all these things and very busy at that time, we had said we'd want to recognize them in front of the board, and you'd ask to be able to thank them for all of their work and so forth. So I would ask Fran Grant, who is the teacher, and Leah and Kristen to please come up. And one of the things that we put up here is the various sponsors that were involved with every 15 minutes. So we've never done this at the high school before. We've never done it. It's never been done in Ozaukee County. So it's the first time that it's occurred. And so when you're starting fresh, they had to come up with a lot of these pieces. They'd gone to Germantown High School the year before, observed them doing it. So an example of another district giving back to us, allowing us to have our students come and see it in action, which helped them, I think, in their planning pieces. But there's just been a ton of work put forward, not only by these 3, but by a slew of other students as well and adults doing this. But these 3 have sort of spearheaded that piece. And so I've asked them to just sort of, give like a 5-minute presentation each of, just kidding. Just kidding. I don't want that either. I don't want that either. Just kidding, Miss Grant. I'm just kidding. So just sort of what it meant to them and the work that they've done, and obviously seeing just the amount of work that it took just to get this thing to be accomplished, and the community rallying around this and donating, whether it's in-kind goods or donations of money or whatever it may be. But we appreciate the work that you've done, and so Fran, we'll turn it over to you.
So Jeff asked if I would please talk about how we actually got people involved in the program. This actually started with our host chapter, which is Future Health Professionals, and it's a partnership with Concordia University that we have been trying to build. It's just that because we're dealing with the School of Pharmacy, it's a partnership with the School of Pharmacy. It's HPAC, which stands for Health Professions Affinity Community. And so it started out as having a few pharmacy students and our students, and it was going to be their project. But being a pharmacy student involves a residency and a rotation program. So oftentimes we lose our pharmacy students. So then it became strictly HPAC HOSA. And these 2 really, really wanted to do it. We had a Stop the Bleed training, and a representative from Frederick Hospital came out and taught us how to use the tourniquets. And in that process, she also talked to us about this program every 15 minutes and talked about how impactful it is, what a difference it can make in the community. And I think we really appreciated the fact that it was not only about drinking and driving, which we want to promote good choices in that situation as well, but right now I think distracted driving, texting and driving is a real issue. That is how it all started. I had no idea what a big community project this would become. And every time we asked for help from our community, everybody was on board. The fire department was a major contributor to this. And then it just got bigger and bigger, and look at all of the organizations. And we've had how many views on Facebook?
Over 19,000.
So it's been really great.
Okay, well, she kind of took a lot of what I was going to say, but, so if you guys don't know, I'm Leah. I'm a senior here, obviously. We started this in December of 2018, so at this point it's like 11 months, almost a year. It's kind of crazy how fast time has really gone. Yeah. Like when we initially had taken this project on, obviously we knew it would be like this huge thing. We were kind of told like, oh yeah, you'll have to fundraise this and plan all that. And we're like, oh yeah, we got this. And we really didn't discover how big and how much this whole project really entails until honestly even the month like October. I mean, this whole journey has really been a learning process, and like we've kind of discussed, like all of these people have helped us so much, and I honestly can't thank them enough, and I can't thank the school enough for really contributing to this and like allowing this to be here and like giving your full support. So.
I'm Kirsten, I'm also a senior this year, and one of the biggest challenges that we faced probably was trying to recruit students from our school, because we didn't know who to include. Because with this project you want it to like affect everyone within the school, you don't want to just target like one group of friends. So it's like kind of hard to like make a party from a different group of friends who like you normally wouldn't see hanging out. So trying to like get people involved was a bit challenging, but we're so thankful for everyone who did end up volunteering their time and helping us out with the video, because the product is just amazing. It's so much more than what we could have like imagined it to be. Yeah.
Any questions?
Question. How many hours do you think you put into this?
A lot. I kept track. I have over 450 hours personally.
Closer to the 300 range.
So between the two of you have over 750 hours then?
Yeah, easily. It's a lot.
Sure.
But I mean, since I like started high school here, I knew I wanted to take on a big project like this. I didn't quite expect it to be to this extent or a 3-day event, but I knew I wanted to be kind of health related and really to get the whole community involved. And I think it's been a really big success.
Congratulations for taking on such a big challenge, you know, and then such a success. I got to attend the community viewing, you know, and it was a great message for everyone that was in attendance, you know, and especially when it's young people saying it to an audience that, you know, from 80-year-olds down to 16-year-olds, and it's a great lesson for everyone, so congratulations.
It was amazing. I wasn't able to attend, but I watched on Facebook, and I've heard amazing things from high school students who were at the actual event. And then I wanted to let you know, like, I heard from either people in neighborhood communities who've watched it on Facebook, because it was so impactful that everyone, it's not just a Grafton thing, it is definitely spread throughout.
And I can attest to that. I share the whole concept, and you'll work with colleagues in various groups and associations that I've been with. And I've heard from people from Waukegan, Illinois, San Francisco, California, and Austin, Texas in particular, about the meaningful impact that it has had on them and the kids that they interact with. It's just absolutely remarkable, the message and the breadth and the reach and the scope of your work. So I echo the sentiments here. Congratulations on the job well done and great representation for the district.
Yeah, we've had so much positive feedback. Like, I don't know, just really anywhere around Grafton, people kind of like look at me funny and they're like, "You were in that video, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's really odd, and like so many people like I have really like known my whole life, or met even like 5 minutes ago. Like they kind of like tell me their personal story and like how much this project like means to them, and I think that's been really one of the craziest parts of it. Is, like it really hits close to home. I mean, you don't realize it until you're this far into it and like have this much help from so many people.
And it's really kind of special too, because like we know that we haven't just impacted like our student body, but we've impacted like grown adults like within the community and like surrounding areas. It's not something you can say you've done every day.
Thank you.
wanted to make sure that we took time to thank them for all their work. And I looked today, I think it's like 19,200 or something like that. So in just over a month to be able to have that many views. And you're right, I'll see it on Facebook. It keeps getting reposted, someone posting it again. And so I think that'll continue to grow and have that effect not only on our community, but across the nation in that way. As a reminder, there's a school board spring election that comes up on April 7th. The candidate filing deadline is Tuesday, January 7th at 5 p.m. That goes with that. And then we also have our Grafton High School athletics that have finished for the fall season. And we have had a great fall season. And so I have asked Mr. Manti, the high school principal, to come and share that good news with us.
Absolutely. So we're happy to continue sharing accomplishments of our Grafton High School students. This time it is for the fall athletic season. And we congratulate all of these athletes for their outstanding work in their sport. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the football team who finished with a 6-3 season record as far as conference and 7-4 overall. Qualified for the playoffs for the second consecutive season. All conference representatives, J.P. Benchwell, Joe Birch, Joey Georgie, Mason Hunt Olkowski, Isaiah Milkey, and Dominic Voiland, all first team all conference representatives. Caleb Bubak, Kenny Likens, Max Medvedev, Zach Weir, Aaron Weisflow, second team all conference representatives, and Caleb Bubak again, Jay Garza, Andrew Rebecki, and Nathan Skiba, both honorable mention representatives. Additional recognition, J.P. Benchwell was named an all-region player, and Joey Georgie was named both all-region and also all-state recognition for those accomplishments. So big congratulations to the football team and those individuals. Coach Norris as well, certainly, for being here. And he's here for another reason tonight as well. So it's not just the recognition of his athletes. The boys soccer team took 6th place overall in the conference. All conference players of the soccer team were Max Still, who's a second team all conference player, and Victor Geyser, who received an honorable mention recognition. Congrats to our soccer representatives. Volleyball team took 5th place in the conference. All conference players were Abby Prayfrock, second team all conference recognition, and Sarah Paschke, who was honorable mention recognition. Cross country state qualifiers this year were Nathan Baker, Rachel Swenson, and Maddie Willie. And Nathan finished in 10th place overall at the state meet. Very significant accomplishment to be on the podium in the top 10 for our cross country state meet. State qualifiers for girls swimming and diving were Allison Garnkars, Haley Grimm, Grace Hom, Maddie Hillner, Libby Michael, Elaine Prayfrock, Sophia Skolman, and Miranda Utke. And the team, once again, placed top 10 finish at state, so placed 10th at the state meet. And the girls tennis team also had a doubles team participate in the state meet, and that was the team of Lydia Olson, Taylor Wenton, and they qualified for the state tournament. First time in many years that we had someone qualify for the state tournament. And they both played mostly as individuals throughout the year, and their coach brought them together as a doubles team in order to have the opportunity to move forward to that state level. So that was very exciting as well. So congratulations to all of our athletes and all of our fall sports. Winter sports are already kicked off, and we're all ready to go. So.
I'm sorry, I did not give him the revised agenda, which had additional information.
Sure.
Would you like to share that?
Sure.
You have additional information? No, it's okay.
No, following up the team, placing 10th at the state meet for the girls swim and dive.
Yep.
Sophia Skolman and Miranda Utke placed 5th and 6th, respectively, in the diving competition, and Sophia was also the conference diving champion. So that was something we'd overlooked on Friday when that was first printed, and we caught that this morning.
Great.
So congratulations to all the students, athletes, in all of our fall sports, which is exciting.
Yeah, congrats to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Manti. And my final comment would be for the musical that we just had with Cinderella. So we ran it for 2 different weekends. They had, Mr. Manti, did they get a final number? It was record crowds, is what they were saying yesterday, but I didn't get a number.
I didn't get the final number
Okay.
yet today.
So we'll get a final number, but huge success. You typically only had it on 1 weekend. They ran it on 2 weekends, and I think it averaged over 300 each show. So really had a great turnout. I know a number of you were able to attend as well, and just great to see the talent that our students have and using our facilities and so forth, which is great.
December board meeting.
And the 4th point is the December board meeting. was thinking that was the next agenda item, but it is under my report. Thank you, Kara. We are moving to Kennedy Elementary School, as Kennedy will be presenting on Monday, December 16th. So a reminder that we switched the board meeting to the 16th. And then one clarification I'd like to ask the board if they would be okay with is typically we do have public comment right at the beginning. And with students presenting, we'd like to move that to actually be the first action item and have my report and other presentations come after that. And then we'd move public comment to following the student presentation. So students and parents could present and then go home, and then we can move on with the rest of our meeting. So the board's, there's nothing in policy that says we have to have it be number 2 to 3, but we want it okay from the board to do that. Okay, then we will make that change for the future. And unless Mr. McKelvey would like to stay for the whole meeting, we did move you to the front. I know, Dan, this is probably nostalgic.
Yes.
Therapeutic.
Feels good to leave early.
Now you can leave. It's not what I was looking for.
Fran, before we leave, Coach Norris, the individual accolades of the students and the recognition that we provide is so well deserved. But those accolades and that recognition doesn't end with their work. It starts with the leadership and the hard work and the effort that you put in getting them to this point. They have a lot to do with it, but having strong leaders and folks behind them and getting them ready and prepared is so critically important. We want to thank you as well for your accomplishments. So, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thanks.
All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Committee, policy committee both met on November 11th. So the curriculum committee here.
Yes, the curriculum committee met, the 3 agenda items. We had the administrators come and talk in general about the state report cards, including their areas of strength, the areas of things they're working on, and just to celebrate their overall accomplishment. And it is also more in detail in item D tonight. We also went over the curriculum cycle in focusing on which classes and which curriculum are being looked at this year, including science and others, and where we are at with each of the different, from K to 12, where we're at with each of the different areas. And then there was the human growth and development, in particular on vaping, which is agenda item E tonight. So it's just an overview of that and getting our feedback, and it will be presented tonight.
Questions for Curriculum Committee? All right, Steve, how about the Policy Committee?
Yes, we also met on Monday, November 11th. The agenda items that we had was we reviewed 11 administrative guidelines. All of those will be on agenda item I tonight. So because those were existing guidelines that we had in our current policy, we did a first reading and some minor changes, and the board will vote on those tonight. We also reviewed 2 policies, policy 5500 for student code of classroom conduct, as well as policy 5145, use of breathalyzers. Also, the committee felt good enough with those to have one reading at the policy level and present those tonight as well. The last agenda item that we had was an update on the wellness policy timeline. Administration is working on that, and they laid out a timeline that we were okay with, that work will begin on that with the committee put in place, so that will come to the board in a future date.
Thanks, Steve. Any questions for Steve? All right, we'll look forward to the individual items on the agenda later on as they come up. Grafton High School course offerings is next on the agenda.
Yes, we have multiple pieces here, and we have a number of staff members that are here to be able to answer questions that the board may have, but we're excited to bring forward some new courses, some course changes, and some requirement revisions that we think will better service our students. And so I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so we're happy to present to you tonight a lot of new courses or revised courses to present to the board. This is the result of a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, a lot of conversations, not only by the individuals here tonight, but also the departments that these individuals represent. So we've asked each of them, we'll work through one department at a time. We're asked each of them to give a brief presentation about the course that they'll be representing, and then a chance if you have any questions at all for them about that particular course or a change that might be related to the course coming forward. And we'll move right down the order of the memo that was sent to you. So we'll start with our Communication Arts Department on AP seminar, represented by Wendy Springer this evening.
Hello. I'm pleased tonight to present to you AP Seminar. It's the first of a two-course program offered by the College Board in the AP Capstone program. AP Seminar focuses on evidence-based argument. Students practice the skills of collaboration, written and oral presentations, and oral defense. The second course in the AP Capstone program is AP Research. So AP Seminar is taken first and sets up research methodology, allowing students in AP Research to do original research while being paired with a mentor in the community. In AP Seminar, students present a team oral presentation, an individual oral presentation, and a 2,000-word essay that is scored by the College Board. The presentations are scored by the instructor. Sophomore or junior year is when AP Seminar is taken, and AP Research would be senior year, allowing students to go through a process much similar to what a senior seminar in an undergraduate level would be. You have a pretty extensive packet in front of you, an example syllabus that I wrote previously, and an outline of seminar as the College Board outlines it for us. This is an application program, so Grafton High School had to apply to the College Board, and our application is pending. So we are anticipating good news from the College Board by the end of the year, and this is brought to you in anticipation of that approval.
Any questions?
The other thing I want to share is this is a really natural offering for us at Grafton High School. It is meant to really enhance other AP offerings. It's a cross-content program. So it allows students to look at topics that they've studied in other AP courses and go more into depth with them. So it's a really nice culminating program for us to offer as we add to our AP offerings here at the high school.
So are we going to plan on offering AP Research as well?
I will propose that next year, assuming that we get approved. Yeah, but we can't offer it until we've offered a year of seminar.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Thank you very much.
Of course, you're welcome.
All right, next we have our mathematics department, who will be represented by Mr. Mike Rickard, our department chair, and he's going to discuss our next level of discussions that we've had regarding geometry. And you'll see proposals of geometry support tonight and proposal of geometry honors. Mr. Rickard?
Good evening. In conjunction with the district goal of increasing our advanced algebra completion by the end of students' junior year, the last couple of years we've been working on our course pathways. We've, over the last 2 years, we've eliminated three different courses that we felt did not meet the looking at grade level standard. And last year I stood before you at this same meeting asking for, after we eliminated a course called Algebra B, we wanted to put in a course called Algebra Support to help meet the needs of those kids that needed a little more Tier 2 intervention as they went through the course this year. So now for next year, we are eliminating the course called Concepts of Algebra and Geometry. Students will go directly from algebra into geometry next year, and we feel that some of those students are still going to need a little bit of additional intervention, Tier 2 type intervention. So students are going to have the opportunity to take a course, we're titling it Geometry Support, and just like we had Algebra Support. It'll be taken concurrently with their current regular geometry course, so they will essentially be, I think, a double dose of geometry. Primarily it'll be 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and students will have the opportunity to roll in and roll out of the course as need be. It's essentially a semester course. If students are doing well first semester, they do have the option to come out of it, and as well as we have the opportunity to put some things in throughout the year on teacher recommendation. Then with geometry honors, that kind of still again goes back to our district goal of advancing students to the completing advanced algebra by the end of the junior year. We're looking to increase the rigor for our college-bound students. As many of these students will eventually fill our AP classes when they're juniors and seniors. So we're looking for a course, geometry honors for 9th and 10th graders. It'll go more in depth. We're also going to offer the opportunity to increase the pacing, but we're also going to be able to provide some opportunities that the traditional or regular geometry course doesn't offer. So it's going to increase the rigor, pacing, depth, the whole 9 yards. So that will again be mostly 9th and 10th graders.
In addition to that, so in the memo, it had listed the elimination of 2 courses, just to make sure we clarify. The elimination of concepts in algebra and geometry, and the elimination of principles of geometry. So students that are currently in concepts in algebra and geometry would normally go to principles of geometry, but in talking with our geometry staff, they will be able to go to regular geometry and take geometry support as well, if necessary. So that's how we can handle
Some
that.
students in the past have gone algebra, concepts of algebra and geometry, and then the principles of geometry and method 3 math requirements without ever sitting in a regular geometry course.
Yes.
So those pathways are now gone.
With geometry support, when do they take those classes? Is it during black class time?
Nope.
Or is it?
It's an additional class, so essentially those kids, like this year I think we have 10 or 11 in the algebra support. They will have their regular algebra class, say on A day for one period, then their algebra support's on the B day, kind of on the opposite hour, so they're getting that everyday dose of algebra. Any other questions?
Looking ahead, would we be seeing a recommendation maybe next year then for like an honors advanced algebra?
I was going to bring that up. I'll probably be back here again next year at the same
The
time.
last stage, right.
One step at a time, very similar to English.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
I just thank the math department for their work on this, and obviously,
It's
you
like
know.
pencil in the
Yeah, right. We don't. November board meeting.
Besides the-
We always move it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the physical education department, we have Mr. Jim Norris here. He's going to talk about adding an elective PE option.
Yeah, so this course kind of came to light last spring when Dean Klein and I went out to the east side of the school to our old ropes course, which since construction and some change of staff, it kind of was overgrown. And we started just talking about the use of that space. In addition to, the bikes that we have, the cross-country skis, the snowshoes that we have right now all sorted away. So Ms. Landy, my colleagues, and then Mr. Gum got to work and started proposing, this course, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity to connect, our current students to the outdoors, which is few and far between these days, while keeping them engaged and active. But this is a course that's going to see a number of different things: rock climbing, camping, fishing, orienteering, so looking at old fashioned map, and figure out where you are, so looking at your iPhone. Archery, biking, curling, kayaking, boat safety, first aid, survival, archery, and then in the winter, which seems like 8 months out of the year around here, cross country, skiing, snowshoeing, ice fishing. So it's just a great opportunity for kids to reconnect with the outdoors. So we're excited about it. Dean Kleina and I are putting together an ice fishing club this winter to kind of kick off and get the ball rolling on that, get people excited about the class. And we've looked at a number of kids and talked to them about it, and they've all been super excited about it. So we are excited about it. Can't wait.
Outdoor courses like this are offered at other area high schools, and from my experience have been very popular among students in terms of PE coursework. So really excited about it. Okay. All right. Thanks, Mr. Norris. All right. Next, we're moving to our science department. We have 2 science representatives here tonight. Mr. Hudson will be taking on the biology portion of this presentation. So I'll welcome Mr. Hudson first to talk about biology honors, and then a couple of other changes in the memo that he'll discuss as well.
Okay, good evening. So a couple of different changes that we're looking at proposing for next year. Number one, adding the honors biology, kind of similar to what has happened in chemistry as well. So we just feel that there's some room there to definitely challenge some students that are in our regular biology class. So we'd like to work on an honors biology course. Some of the big changes, I think, for those students primarily would be looking at a couple of different NGSS standards that focus on particularly like the science process and experimental design. I've noticed definitely that there are some activities that I do where you really could get into some more rigorous curriculum with those students. Also looking at another standard that deals with some mathematical modeling, with students that might be at a kind of a different level as far as math is concerned, just providing them for a more challenging option to kind of set the stage for some of the courses that they have coming up with science. So that would be the honors biology. At the same time, we'd be looking at doing away with the basic biology. So we just feel that we'd like to bring everyone up to grade level. Right now, the basic biology is taught with a number of resources that are different enough from the regular biology that we'd like to just kind of make that just an even playing field for all those students. And then for the ones that need the extra help and the extra differentiation, having by the teacher and other staff that could be in there at the same time, helping out with that. And then for AP Biology, for next year, we'd like to change that to 1.5 credit. So, when you get into college, particularly similar to what we've done with chemistry, AP Chemistry, those college lab courses, are typically worth a larger credit load. The amount of time spent in the lab is greater. So just making sure that we give those students the appropriate amount of time to get through those lab activities and prepare themselves the way they should be for the AP exam in May. That definitely would be something that we could easily fill that extra time.
The AP Biology proposal is identical to the AP Chemistry proposal that came in front of you last year and is consistent with lab courses like Chem and Physics with other area schools that will make those courses 1.5 credits, where students take 1 credit first semester and then back off to 0.5 credit of that course during second semester. So it would be the same way that we proposed with chemistry, and the biology B component is identical to the algebra B and the approach that we've taken with math. We've already finished with Comm Arts a number of years ago as far as making all of our courses grade level courses or above for our students.
Questions?
Thanks, Mr. Hudson. And also representing our science department, we have Mrs. Alyssa Bloom, and she's going to talk to you about the addition of a course called Introduction to Materials Science.
Okay, so Introduction to Materials Science would be in the physical science side of things. We currently do not have any semester or elective physical science courses. So basically it would be a lab-intensive course that would focus on the study of things like solids and metals and ceramics and glass and composites, all those different types of materials that would be part of the material science course. This course can also serve the needs of preparing students for our physical science courses, our physics and our chemistry, so it could be taken before those or to enhance that coursework. And then basically another pro for material science is it's very relevant in a lot of our real world applications. There's a lot of applied material science, and it's a very interesting field right now to many people. Also, I'll speak to the
Thank you.
accelerated chemistry name change to the honors chemistry to be consistent with all of the other courses.
So that change with that on the student's transcript, any course that's accelerated will be called honors. So that way we have honors all the way through, regardless of the department. So it's consistent and makes sense when post-secondary institutions are reviewing our students' transcripts. So I think it's a logical change. Thanks, Science Department, much appreciated. Continuing with the Grafton High School course proposals, we're going to move to the Social Studies Department. We have 2 Social Studies representatives here tonight. We have our department chair, Mrs. Shannon Meisner, and we have one of our teachers as well, Mr. Ryan Brohelman, and they're going to talk you through a course called Global Studies and a change with our American Government course as well.
Hi everyone. The Social Studies Department has basically been working the past couple of years on some curriculum changes
opportunity to start with our first freshman level AP class, which was AP Human Geography. Mr. Goldman taught with great success that class. However, there was another course that was required of freshmen at that time in American government, and still continued to be required of freshmen at that time. And so the decision was basically made over a couple-year process to introduce a year-long global studies course. This basically provides two things: a better realignment with the freshman AP Human Geography, and it also provides a global requirement in social studies, which we did not have before, so requirement for global studies. So now what happened with American government? So previously, freshmen were taking a year-long American government course. Essentially, the American government course, the curriculum will remain the same, the condensed version of that in a semester course. So like last year, freshmen who took AP Human Geography, they'll have the opportunity as a junior or senior to take a semester-long American government course. Freshmen who are taking AP Human Geography this year, who are not correspondingly taking American government, will take either their sophomore, junior, or senior year a semester-long American government course. So the curriculum for American government will essentially be the same, just a little condensed version of it, but introducing a freshman year-long global studies. Mr. Goldman will talk a little bit more about what that will do.
Sure. So thank you very much. So our global studies course is, again, Sharon said, kind of go along with our AP Human Geography course. One of the things in the AP Human Geography course is each unit kind of has a theme, and then we travel around the world with the theme, kind of. Our global studies course is going to be more where we take a place in the world and then kind of cover all of the themes. So it's a little bit of an opposite approach, but we have 6 major themes we'll kind of be looking at on that course. There'll be physical geography, political geography, culture, very aware, history, economics, and then just general current events and current issues aspect to it. So the areas of the world, not exactly positive on what we're going to cover specifically, but obviously North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Oceania. Hopefully all of those. We kind of need to still work on some of the fine tuning on the exact areas that we want to look at. So.
Very excited about this proposal as well. The department identifying the fact of, putting a global requirement into their sequence, so important in terms of the world we live in today, while still honoring the American government portion of what we've been doing for a long time. So basically, the other part to this is on your memo, and that's really where we have the change to what the social studies sequence requirements will look like. So I just want to bring that to your attention, and really it begins with the class of 2024, which is next year's freshman class. The required social studies experience would look like as the following: 9th grade, global studies or AP Human Geography. They mirror each other very well, so that's the global experience that occurs at the freshman level. 10th grade remains U.S. history, U.S. or AP U.S. history, 1 year of that. In the 10th through 12th grade, they can take their half credit government course, and then they have a half credit of elective that they would take as well. Many of our students take far beyond that in terms of social studies. There are many outstanding electives in the department, and they will go far beyond those 3 credits, but that's what the required sequence would look like. So we wanted to bring that to your attention as well. So this process took place over a number of years, so it's been a long process to get where we are today, but it's been a lot of hard work on behalf of the department. So.
Any questions?
I would give kudos to Mr. Brogelman for his AP Human Geography work that he did. I remember speaking with him last year. Students were taking the class, and we were talking about it because it's the first time we had freshmen take the AP class, and we were talking about in the future how many kids would take it. We had 20 kids at that time, and we talked about, well, depending on how students do, and I remember distinctly you saying, well, kids are going to do well, Mr. Nelson. And they did. He was very confident, which is great. I was like, I like to hear that. You did. It was in your room. I remember distinctly you saying it. And out of he had 20 kids, all 20 of them took the test. He had 100% participation, and his kids were 23% over the state average on passing. So really tremendous job, first crack at him doing it, and proud of the work that he's doing with that. And now there's 38 kids in that class, so students are seeing a success factor and the opportunity to do that, which is great as well. So.
Am I supposed to sit and do well again now?
You're on the record here, Mr. Roseman, on the record.
We have it on video. So thank you both.
Yep, thank you very much. Our next next department, we have our Technology and Engineering Department. Mr. Mike Dodge is representing our Tech and Engineering Department tonight. We are, I've said excited a lot, I truly mean that. We're excited to be bringing forward our next steps in our engineering curriculum, specific to our partnership with Project Lead the Way that we began this year. And Mr. Dodge will take us through what that will look like next year.
So as Mr. Manti said, we made the switch and we're teaching principles of engineering right now. It is an awesome switch. It's really rigorous for us. And we're looking at building that pathway. So this year we're proposing Introduction to Engineering Design, which is going to take the place of our Mechanical Design 1 and Mechanical Design 2. And what the course is going to do is it goes through the engineering process. So students are going to take and be given like problems. They're going to go through the design process. They're going to learn the 3D model, and then build prototypes of the process, and go through that and learn about engineering that way. So that's going to be kind of in like our introductory level. So it'll be open through for grades 9 through 12. So, and then is there any questions on that one? And then the other one that we're proposing. Project Lead the Way really likes to.
But everything that he's going to teach next year.
It's like everything, yeah. So the other one that we're proposing is computer integrated manufacturing, and this is like going to be our third level of Project Lead the Way, and it's going to deal with robotics. It's going to deal with programming those robots. It's going to deal with also CNC type machining and learning to program and write codes. And then it's also going to deal with like manufacturing like systems and students understanding what goes into manufacturing systems. So that'll be exciting too. And one of the, I know there's a cost to it, but one of the things that we've established over the years is our manufacturing alliance, and we've been able to actually cut costs with the actual CNC machines that we have. So I think the kids are going to really enjoy that one too.
And you felt that sim was also a good fit for our community as far as
yes,
the
that
choice
was
of
one
that
of the
course.
reasons I chose that is because when you have manufacturers donate, a $34,000 CNC lathe and a $50,000 CNC mill, there's something to that, and also SolidWorks and Mastercam and stuff like that. So we need to fit that into Project Lead the Way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for
Okay.
taking this on and everything undertaking.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, one of the things while you're here, so I mean, just the Mr. Dodge is one of the advisors of FTC, our First Tech Challenge, that's really taken off this year a little bit. You want to talk just for a second about kind of where you guys are with the First Tech Challenge team?
So right now, we're at the stage where we're getting ready to try and start building something. We've gathered, and Erin Sumner has more information, but we've gone through the process. I applied for a grant. She's been getting through the help of the students. The students have been kind of going to local manufacturers and other places to get sponsorship. Thank you, Mr. Nana, for your sponsorship. And Erin Sumner is kind of dealing with the programming, and now that we kind of understand that, we've purchased some kits and we're going to start actually building the robotics. Our goal is to go and watch a competition on December 15th, I believe, 14th or 15th, and then compete in January in a competition and see how it goes. There's a lot that both of us are trying to learn as far as rules and what we can't do. And we've been lucky enough to go to Homestead has a good team. We went to watch there. That place was crazy. They had 5 robots. And then we also had a person from university school. I can't remember their names, but 2 instructors from there. They do run it as a class. So I might be standing up here next year talking to you about that. But they were very, they're like, well, you don't have to do all of this, you can do this. So it's just been helpful to see the community schools that do this
that's kind of where we're at, get ready to do it.
Thank you very much. Sorry to put you on the spot for that, but it was a logical time to ask, so thank you. So I will close this memo by representing Brenda Stilo tonight for our Family and Consumer Science Department. She has requested a couple of changes, one of them being a name change, and one of them, or two of them being elimination of particular courses. The elimination of the courses that we're requesting are FCS survey. It's a basic survey course at the freshman level that is no longer necessary. We involve our students in the actual areas of foods at that 9th grade level right now, which allows them the opportunity to get involved there. We haven't had enough students sign up for the survey course for a number of years. And the textile arts course is the same way. Really our focus has become the pathways of foods, child development, fashion, and interior design. And the textile arts course is not something that has run or will run independently as we move forward in that department. And then our name change request is we're looking to take our culinary arts course, rename that baking principles as we prepare for a potential alignment with MATC with this course. We think that there's a good potential there, so we are going to ask for that name change, which better indicates the content that's actually within the course. So Brenda would request those changes as well. And I believe that concludes all of our requests. We're very thankful for hearing all of the requests, and just to indicate one more time, thankful for everybody here who's put all the time and effort and energy into proposing these changes, as Jeff said very well to start, to really improve the overall potential academic experience for our students that attend Grafton High School. So very proud of everybody here and thankful for you considering these proposals.
Any questions, additional questions, comments? I'm struck by the planful multi-year approach that I see in here to increasing the rigor, not only for the benefits of our students, but for the benefits of the entire learning community, you as well. No easy task for sure to take on new things and to continue to push each of our students and our entire community forward. We certainly do appreciate it, all the time and the effort that goes into putting this together, and then the time and effort that goes to preparing for execution and implementation. But certainly a tremendous benefit for our students. And I suspect from some of the comments there will be continued pushing, at least from some of the folks in these seats, as we should, to constantly continually increase that rigor. But thank you very much.
And what I appreciate too is that although there are some things that are focused on rigor, there's also things focused on the whole child. And so it isn't just AP, it isn't just for struggling students. You have outdoor education in there, you have other pieces that tie into this. I mean, the other day I was talking to Brenda about something, and she was running down to the tech ed area, so I walked with her and helped her carry some frosting, because the architectural design students had been cutting out some gingerbread pieces, and the advanced foods kids were coming down to frost and build the gingerbread houses together. So the idea of having these classes that then can work together is the beautiful piece of having a comprehensive high school, is having students in various areas and working together on things, which helps kids be not only college ready, but also life ready. And Mike talked about that with, working with other manufacturers, and here's some things that kids can look at careers and so forth. So that's what I'm impressed with, the breadth of things that we're offering that are really relevant for kids. And I mean, some of them they probably wouldn't let me in, but all of them sound like they'd be really fun to get into. I might learn something. I'll enjoy observing, seeing that in action. But I appreciate the breadth of coursework that you're bringing to the table for our kids. Thank you.
All right, I'm hearing nothing. I entertain a motion to approve the high school course offerings as presented.
So second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it passes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, so we're pleased to give an overview of our district report card, and then at each school, we're proud that, as it says here, that we were, there's various rankings, and you can look at K-12 districts, which is typically what we would rank ourselves against across the state, because you have K-8 districts that may have a couple hundred students in there, and you could have 9-12 districts. So there's a variety of different districts across the state. As we look at this, last year we were 24th in the state compared to K-12 districts, and this year we are 9th. If we were to look at districts all across the state, we'd be 18th. So in the top 20, no matter you're K-8 or 9-12, whatever you would be. But which I love the fact that our students are improving and we're doing better on this report card, but I still would echo back to the whole child piece, though. We're proud of this work. However, we aren't chasing a score. We're chasing helping students be as successful as they can be, and those numbers are being reflected in our report card. We're closing the gap with MEC1 in that way, but it's great to see that. But the breadth of things that you see teachers talking about will continue to have our students be successful. If they change the rubrics of the report card, they change the rubrics of the report card. But we know students are leaving our district being college and career ready. And so I'll turn it over to Diana and Laura to talk about the state report card.
Awesome. All right, thank you. So as Carrie mentioned earlier, we talked about this in depth at the curriculum committee level, as well as each principal giving highlights to their report cards. So this is a somewhat condensed version for our celebrations and our areas to work on for the public. That advancing.
Is it on?
All right. Yes, it's on.
It worked at 6.
All right. So what is assessed in the report card? They are called the priority areas. So it's ELA and math proficiency. That's a combination of, depending on the level, but for the district report card, forward 3rd through 8th grade, ACT, Aspire 9th through 10th, ACT at 11th, alternative assessments, district growth, closing the gap, and post-secondary readiness. The thing to really think about with the report card, because it's such a comprehensive measure, is that it really is a measure of the capacity of our system to educate our students versus 1 year of data. It combines in many areas multiple years of data, where the most recent year it weighs the most or has the most impact on the score. But it's really a measure of what we are doing as a system for our school, and that's the way that we're using it as administrators with our teachers, thinking about what are the successes and what are the things that we can think about to get better. Okay.
So there are 3 major changes to highlight with this report card. The first one is that this is the first report card that Kennedy and Woodview have the GES students divided among them. So the old gap groups remain the same for 2 more years, but the students from the 18-19 school year are formulated as a group, but they're not counted in the gap score just yet. We need to have 3 years in a row to count that. And the second change is that now that Aspire has been added in, we have growth scores from 8th grade forward to the 9th grade Aspire, and from 9th grade to 10th grade Aspire. And then the third change is that with the addition of the 9th and 10th grade students, we have enough students to reach that threshold of 20 students, or the minimum of 20 students to form those gap groups. So now we have those 3 gap groups there: the Hispanic, Latino, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged. So we no longer have that super group anymore. That we needed that super group before because we didn't have enough students to make up 20 for each of those subjects.
So remember that the district score is its own school, its own score. It's not a combination of all the different scores. It's not a summary. It's not an average. It's its own entity. So by adding those Aspire students, that's what really changed our numbers for those gap groups, like Laura said. So we're really excited about our score this year. You can see at the bottom the prior year score. This year we are significantly exceeds again for the 2nd year in a row of 86.5, an increase from last year of 2.9%. So great success that we're very proud of.
All of our schools are either in significantly exceeds or exceeds expectations, every single school. So this graphic shows how across all schools, so Jeff mentioned at the beginning that schools can be formed in many different ways. So you can have K-12 districts, K-8 districts, K-5 districts, 9-12 districts, charter schools, all of those different, which might have only, 20 kids. So all of those are counted in the number of total districts in the state, which is 421. So this graphic shows that Grafton is in the top 40 of those 421. This was all that we could share actually at the curriculum committee level because we didn't have all the public scores yet. Now we can share, on the next slide, that we are 9th out of 367 Wisconsin districts that are K-12. So what we like to do is we like to look at K-12 districts because we're looking at system improvement. And when you look at system improvement, you want to compare yourself to other systems that are similar. So that's K-12. We did not take out size or anything like that, but we did look at K-12. And out of that, there's 367, and we are 9th, which puts us in the top 2.5% in the state, which is an increase from last year as well. We ranked 2nd in Ozaukee County, only behind Mequon, second time to say that tonight. So we're very proud of that, and that's for the 2nd year in a row as well. And like I said earlier, all of our schools are exceeds or significantly exceeds. Not on the slide, but also to note is if we looked at CISA 1 schools, so CISA 1 is our region of support for the cooperative education system of support, we are number 5 out of the CISA 1 district. So another really high number to be proud of. All right, so in one of those priority areas, student achievement, how did we score? This is a point of pride for us. We scored at a 82.2 totally. We're above the state in both ELA and math, grew in math, and stayed the same in ELA. All Grafton schools scored higher than the state in both ELA and math in this priority area of student achievement. So a big point of pride for our district. When we look at growth, we're really measuring the students' knowledge of ELA or reading and math and how that changes from year to year. Students are compared with like groups. So groups will be formed. They're not in the report card that's separate, but the background of that is they'll compare students to like groups. So for example, in just an easy term that I sort of thought through to make sure it makes sense. So if there's 2 students in 2 different districts, student A and student B. So if student A grew more than student B and they were at different schools, the measurement is how much more student A grew compared to student B, not how much student A grew compared to himself. So it's really similar to in gaps where they compare you against your opposite group. Here they compare you with a like group. So they're looking at where did you grow more, which system impacted your growth more, which is why the system is really the way to look at the report card. So where would you have been better off? Student A in Grafton or student B somewhere else? Okay, so having said that, the next slide talks a little bit about some of the things that we're doing to improve the growth score. So in our curriculum review of reading, it's an ongoing review process for reading and writing to make sure that we don't wait 7 years to fix something that we see. So we added phonics, the phonics units of study that the board allowed us to add for this year, which is direct instruction in phonics, but then transfer and connection to our reading and writing units of study at the K2 level. Teachers are already seeing gaps, and they're seeing a big difference in how students are understanding the area of phonics as they're learning to read and write. Gaps are more seen at the 2nd grade level, and so that just shows us that we were right to say that's probably one of our places to improve. So we have that in place. Teacher teams are analyzing forward scores, individual student data, and trend data. They're doing that in grades 2 through 8. They're looking at math predictors to forward achievement, writing action plans around that. We'll be looking again after the January MAP scores. We're reading a book as an admin team about predictors and how do you get the right predictors. And we know that MAP is one of those right predictors. So we're going to be using that to see how our students are improving. We're working on universal instruction and being able to differentiate in small groups during that universal instruction time. Question types and the areas of reading instruction. So really looking at in the forward, how are our students performing in different question types? And then analyzing that and taking a look at what does that look like in our classroom instruction. And then text-dependent analysis, that is one of the components of the forwards. That's where they read 1 or 2 passages and essentially write an essay to a prompt. So we're practicing where does that make sense to practice authentically within our curriculum. And then our 100-day action steps are really including things that focus on literacy, one of which are our instructional rounds at grade level. So grade level teams are deciding their what they need to learn more about based on the student CFA data. And then the principals and the coaches are helping make this happen by inserting themselves into a classroom so teachers can go and watch each other teach. They'll be bringing that data to our 100-day planning session next week, Thursday, so we can see what kinds of things do teams learn to make them better at teaching reading and writing, and that will help inform how we're going to move forward in our next 100-day plan.
So another priority area is closing the gap. Closing the gap score represents the progress of all 6 student subgroups in closing gaps in reading and mathematics and in graduation rates when we compare them to their counterpart groups in the state. So these 6 student groups include students with disabilities, EL students or English learners, economically disadvantaged, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, and 2 or more races. So a few things to point out: that our district score has increased by 3.3 points in both ELA and math from the previous school year, and we are significantly higher than the state average. The district's economically disadvantaged, Hispanic, Latino, and English learner subgroups positively closed the gap in ELA, and all 6 subgroups positively closed the gap in math. Closing the gap scores at both the John Long Middle School and at the high school are well above the average for both ELA and math. And both elementary schools have a closing the gap ELA score lower than the state, but Diana had just talked about what we're doing to make some change there. And one more thing just to kind of keep in mind, that because we have a smaller district size, those scores are a little bit more volatile than, say, a district that maybe had like 100 students in each of those gap groups. That might be a little bit more steady, a little more stable. But since ours are right around that 20, our scores can change from year to year. So in the area of readiness, the district is above the state average in all indicators of on-track and post-secondary readiness, and that includes our graduation rate, attendance rate, 3rd grade ELA achievement, and 8th grade math achievement. The Grafton High School 4-year graduation rate was 100% over a 6-year period, and at 98.3% for a 4-year cohort. So one area that we noted before for improvement was our 3rd grade reading, which is a little bit lower than it was last year, but it matches our dashboard in our redefining ready work. And then student engagement. So Grafton received no deductions in this area, which includes the absenteeism rate and the dropout rate. So we had no points deducted there. And then that test participation information is just information in the middle there. It does not get included in our student engagement. So the expectation is that 95% of all of our students are tested, and Grafton is at 99%.
All right, so I'm going to highlight a couple things from each building. Before I say that, it is important to note that the overall score on the report card for each building, including the district, is on a variable scale or a sliding scale. So it looks at your school growth and your achievement and weighs it differently based on the socioeconomic percentage in your school. So for example,
if we looked at GHS, we have 14% economically disadvantaged, which means that the weight of the report card would be 41.6% on achievement and 11.7% on growth. When you look at Woodview, we're at 21% economically disadvantaged. So that means that the achievement would be scored at 34% and the growth is at 15%. So depending on the socioeconomic number, percentage, that changes how much growth is weighed. So the higher your socioeconomic, the more growth is weighed over achievement. Okay, so just to note that because every school has a different percentage, and Woodview is the highest of the schools. Looking at Woodview, just to notice the high achievement in both ELA and math, but we are below the state in growth in ELA only, and closing the gaps, we're below the state in ELA and math. We had a really high jump in both growth and closing the gaps in the area of math from last year to this year, so that's a significant change there. Looking at Kennedy, to notice high achievement in both ELA and math, but again below the state in growth and closing the gaps, but at Kennedy it's an ELA only. And again, that high jump in both growth and closing the gaps for math compared to last year. So we saw the same growth for math or similar growth for math in both our elementary schools, which was very a big celebration. John Long, notice that above the state in growth in both ELA and math, so that's a huge achievement there. Their growth score is really high. And their overall score jumped from last year as well. And finally, Grafton High School, huge jump in their score. Remember the addition of the 9th and 10th graders with the Aspire scores, so now we do have a growth score. So notice there's now a growth score. It's based on that Aspire measure that we talked about earlier. It's high, it's above the state, it's high in math and ELA, so it's a big celebration at our high school. So, are there any questions that you might have?
Can you go back to slide number 2 or 3 for the district role?
Growth?
Yeah, so just for clarification here, so it's got 65.1.
Diana?
Yes?
I just identified
Pedestrian signs open.
what he's, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
switched. Just that.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Just reload the slideshow.
Oh, okay.
Our district growth was 77 at the district.
Oh.
It should be, yeah.
Right. So that's the real number.
Sorry.
I saw that and
Okay. So we're still below the state in, well, actually we're not.
We're
below
not.
the state. So that makes a big difference. We're still doing those same measures though, because we are below at the elementary. So all of those efforts are mostly elementary based, so they're still really relevant and part of what we're doing. Apologize for that.
actually I had it incorrect at the curriculum meeting and I just went back and saw my mistake in that.
Okay.
But when we discussed it, we were looking at the paper and,
Correct.
you know,
Yep.
just the slide was off. That was my fault.
So, but the action steps are still there and they're important. So I would have shared them either way, so.
Another reason why you're so good on the policy committee, Mr. Nod. Just- You could join the policy committee, Mr. Grafton.
Yes.
And I don't remember exactly, so one of our measures on the district scorecard is a year-over-year map change, right?
On our district dashboard?
Yes,
On our data
oh, yes,
dashboard.
our district
Yes,
one,
on our
yes.
district one, correct.
Yes.
So if map is the right predictor, and we've identified these action steps for growth, right? Should we be looking at fall to spring instead of spring to spring, or fall? I don't know which one it is, and I know.
We use spring to
we talked about
spring,
this before.
and we use spring to spring intentionally so that we can close the summer reading gap. So if you use fall to spring, a student could actually progress to the end of spring and then come back in fall with a new score, but it could be lower than when they left. And you wouldn't know it if you didn't go spring to spring. So
You would
it's the
just-
summer
You
reading
would see growth,
gap.
you would see growth, but it wouldn't be, it wouldn't necessarily be positive
It's
growth.
not, yeah, and so we
Okay.
want to sustain that growth and own the summer reading
But
gap.
good question, because we've gone back, and that's part of us too, establishing what are the levers that work, what are the frameworks that align, because we're trying different things to see what does that look like. And that's where we settled on the spring to spring. Good question.
Okay. Any additional questions on this? Yeah, very favorable results, continue to move in the right direction, and continued focus on the challenges and the opportunities that we face. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, human growth and development curriculum, vaping edition.
Right, so we spoke about this at the curriculum board level, and the committee recommended that we add in a lesson and a video resource that would include vaping into the 7th grade human growth and development. 7th grade has a focus on drug and alcohol prevention and awareness and safety around those behaviors. Vaping is very much prevalent in our in the world right now. It's all over the news. There are a lot of dangers to that, and this is really about helping kids understand how vaping is part of the nicotine addiction and how it affects your developing brain. So we want to make sure we do that in 7th grade. There's a follow-up in 9th grade health where students talk again about vaping, and again, at that point they're at high school, so their experiences are different, and the things that they're exposed to might be different. So we want to catch them early in 7th grade and really help them see what it can do to brain development. So I am asking that it is approved that we can add in this resource and lesson into the Human Growth and Development 7th grade curriculum.
I entertain a motion to adopt the administrative recommendation regarding adding vaping to our human growth and development curriculum. Any discussion?
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A timely addition for sure. Referendum budget update.
Yes, I'm excited to bring you an update on the referendum budget. And as a reminder, it was about a little over 2.5 years ago, in April of 2017, that the committee passed a referendum. By September, we were in the ground and building. We started to work on the new additions to the school during the school year, and then that following summer of 18, we moved inside the buildings to work on renovations, leaving us in September of 2018, ready to open, bring all our students into our new spaces. And then this past summer, 2018, we worked on finishing up primarily those exterior portions of the work related to the referendum. We have now reached a point where we have completed and been billed for all items that were being managed by us. So we're moving kind of into a new stage where we are doing projects that we are self-managing. A big piece of that, as you know, would be the work at John Long Middle School with the HVAC updates, water heater and such. As a review, we did bring forth the money from the referendum. Additional revenues that come from that would be the investment income, investing those bond proceeds,
and some of the focus on energy rebates. But the district also did go and get additional revenue with bond proceeds that were budget neutral, did not add any additional taxes. And those were brought forward to do additional projects in conjunction with the referendum that would make sense to do with the referendum. For example, as we're installing lighting into the newly built areas, it made sense to do lighting updates in existing areas where people were in. So we find ourselves now working on just the self-managed projects, and I put a budget summary into the handout that shows that as of just last week, we look to have about $41.46 million having been completed and billed, with another 1.283 of funds remaining. The to-be completed piece of the $1,153,000 is primarily still referendum related, because you do have about $825,000 when it comes to John Long Middle School and their HVAC, their water heaters, some electrical, as well as the windows at Woodview. So much of that is still referendum related, but because we were able to go out and raise the additional $2.16 million, we also have additional projects that we are working on, putting together the pricing for that. And we will be able to come to the Finance Committee, that's the plan that administration has, to come to that Finance Committee in January, so that that list of, the list of projects can be reviewed and discussed as we move forward into what should be a pretty busy summer of tackling many of these remaining projects. Any questions?
So, Kaufman building is complete, so retainage and lien waivers in cleared from all subs, that's also.
We have some retainage, so we've been billed, but there's still some retainage. I don't recall that exact amount.
Okay.
And moving forward, we'll be in charge of what is retained. So like any project we manage, we look at the invoices and pay them when that project is complete to our satisfaction.
Is that only for the things that were self-performing, or is there still retainage on things that?
We still have some retainage from that Hoffman piece. It's not a large amount.
And that's not officially transferred to our responsibility?
It has been. The checks have been cut. We are not.
Ah, okay, okay. The investment income that resides in a fund for our benefit, right?
Correct.
Do we have to sign any arbitrage certificates or?
That's being monitored, and we're within compliance to keep our funds better.
Is Baird monitoring that?
That's PMA.
PMA, okay.
Yep, they invested our bond proceeds and give us monthly reports on what those proceeds are and the arbitrage requirements.
SLR annual report is next.
Yeah, so last year I reported in December on a new requirement that ESSA, that's in ESSA, that requires districts to report how much we spend per student at each building. And so we put the budget piece in last December, and now we have submitted our actual expenditures for 2018, 2019. Those are going to be looked at by the state for all the districts across Wisconsin, and then those will be published in June of 2020. So I put together information regarding those dollar amounts per school that we do spend according to the SLR reporting guidelines. Very similar
to what we are expecting based on our budget from last December. As you can see, as one would expect, we spend more per student at the high school. Obviously, we have some classes that are very, a lot more expensive to run, such as tech ed. We also have all our athletic programs, coaches, and items such as that. So you'll see that high schools are going to spend more per student. Also that way at the middle school as well. And then on average, we spend less at the elementary, which is expected. And like was mentioned in the budget report from last December, we do have a higher population of special ed students at Woodview than at Kennedy. And that's why we spend more per student at Woodview than we do at Kennedy. So this will be published publicly in June. And at that point, all districts will have their data published. Any questions? This is it's a little different than some other reports. There isn't a goal we're trying to attain necessarily, so this is truly informational only. But one that you should be aware of in case you do get questions from the community as to why do we spend more with you than we do at Kennedy. So you can answer those questions.
Any questions on the SLR report? Move on to board policy revision in addition, first reading approval for policy 5145. I think it's revision for 5500.
Yes, 5145 was youth breathalyzers, which was a board policy that we currently had that we just didn't roll over when we moved with Neola, so there was no language change at all. With 5500, we'd added student code of classroom conduct, and also on the bus, I believe is what we'd added. That was with that, so although those weren't policies that were with the Neola piece, that the committee felt comfortable recommending approval with after a first reading of those, because they were current policies. One had a minor change, one had no change. It's just we needed to have that rolled into our current policy because we're doing that.
Based on that explanation, I would look to entertain a motion to adopt these policies or revisions for 5145 and 5500 after our first reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. All right, then in addition, there are, as Steve quoted earlier, 11 administrative guidelines being presented for the first read and also approval tonight as well.
So administration went through all of the various policies and administrative guidelines that we had previous and highlighted the ones that were most essential for us to be able to have in place for this school year for the work that we're doing. We talked earlier about partnering with Neola to bring a comprehensive guideline package for our policies and our AG's administrative guidelines. But the timeliness of that didn't allow us to do that, and so we're going to wait until next year to do that. We'll include that in the budget. We'll have a time frame for that. But as administration worked through all the different guidelines that we previously had, we came up with these 11 that we needed to have in place, which allows staff to be able to efficiently do their jobs and also informs our families of how we do things. So we would ask for, so these are current guidelines that we had in our old policies, if that makes sense. So we are asking for approval for the AG 227, the guidelines for early college credit program, 2340, guidelines for teachers, volunteers, and chaperones for field and other district-sponsored trips, 2521, guidelines for selection and reconsideration of media center materials, 2531, copyright guidelines, 5111, guidelines for admission of transfer students, 5330, guidelines for administering medication to students, 5410, retention policy procedures and timelines, 5410A, K-12 acceleration procedures and timeline, 5430, weighted grading, 7510, guidelines for implementing public use of facilities, and 8462 guidelines for reporting child abuse or neglect. So we reviewed these at the committee level and are bringing them forward to the board for full approval tonight.
Then I'd entertain a motion to adopt and approve these 11 guidelines in conjunction with the first read this evening.
So moved.
Any questions?
So, I mean, the only comment to make was, we did get the feedback from the district nurse
Yes.
regarding the AG 5330 to add to the middle school, and that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Thank you for, I had that up on my email as a reminder from Kara to say that I went to a different email, so thank you for bringing up a different data point. Thank you, Mr. Nona.
That's the only thing that was different from our meeting that day.
Yep, that's from Stacia.
Was one of the action items.
Yep.
Any other questions? Not all those in favor of the motion, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you to the administration for their work in reviewing those guidelines. Gift reports.
And we have 4 gift reports that we would ask the board to approve, 3 of them for our every 15 minutes, so they're still getting final numbers or final donations. So we had, one is from Capco. Neil Willinson is the contact person for that, but they were donating $1,950 for the sound. So this was for when we were outside. That really made a big difference when you had over 800 people out there. We had bleachers set up and the sound and just the ability to hear. And you saw it on the video. You saw the video, it translated into that video where you're hearing Officer Radke while students are talking and everything else going on. So that was an integral part of that. So it's a $1,950 donation for sound for that. And then we have from the Grafton Professional Police Association. They donated $250 to HOSA for the Every 15 Minutes event. Captain Matthew Schanzer donated $250 to HOSA for Every 15 Minutes event as well. And then our final donation is from Rick and Julie Seibold, who donated $3,000 for the purchase of subwoofers for our music department.
Entertain a motion to accept the gifts as presented.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor of the motion, aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes. And as always, thank the community for their continued support, for worthwhile, worthy endeavors. Couldn't do it without that great partnership. We really appreciate it.
We will send a letter thanking them on the board's behalf.
Thank you, Rick. Facilities update.
All right, facilities update. Thank you. So to start off with the last couple of weeks, we replaced 4 unit ventilators or heating and cooling units at John Long Middle School. Here you see it before and then after. This project was scheduled for August and the equipment is back ordered. So first I want to thank the staff because they accommodated the contractors. They moved their classes to either LMC or base, and then even after we had them installed, we had to work out a few things with controls.
It was a little cold.
So, I can't thank the staff enough. This wasn't planned this way, but it worked out. So we have 16 of these units, and we plan on replacing about 4 a year. So during the construction, the other schools that have unit ventilators or heating and cooling units, they were 100% replaced. So we're just bridging that gap with John Long Middle School. Baseball and softball updates. You can see where we are at right now with the baseball infield. And we are about 1.5 inches from final grade in the baseball. Softball, we have the drainage installed. And so the goal is going to be sort of up timeline for this project because of what happened the last 3-4 weeks and rain leading up to this. So the goal is to get the softball to the point where the baseball field is. and then everything is going to stop. And they're looking at March as to resume the project. So there's about 3 weeks of work left at that point. So right when it's about 32 degrees in March, they can start with the final grade, bringing both fields up to the final grade, or the 1.5 inches. And at that time, they can start on the fencing, same time. And then once it hits about needle over 40 degrees, then the artificial turf will go on. So, and then just, so any area that is not, so from the artificial turf to the outfield, because it will not, there's about 4 feet of gap. That will, just so you know, that will be sod. So the fields will be ready. Once they are done, the next day we can play on the fields. So that is a schedule, and you know, the weather pushed us to this point.
Can you go back to one of those pictures?
Yes.
As long as you got it up. One more.
Yes.
So is that fence, I'm assuming where that concrete border is, that's where the fence is going to go to? The new backstop?
The new backstop, you can see the pole at that point, and the concrete curbing that the artificial turf will wrap around that.
And so is there going to be fence, because I looked at that fence from that pole to the dugout, I'm assuming?
Yes, and then we're replacing the fence in front of the dugout also.
Okay. When does baseball start?
So I did talk to Kevin, Scott and I just briefly talked to Kevin, and he said the first week in April, they have 1 game. So he's already aware of that. The coaches, he will talk to the coaches. We might have to move that 1 game, you know, depending on. So let's wait and see. So over Thanksgiving, as Topher mentioned, that we took over these projects now. So we have a lot of punch lists and warranty work that's going to be happening and we're going to utilize the holidays to get this done. So contractors, we have fire doors and door work to be done. Inspections need to be done. Plumbing at the high school, a lot of fixtures. There's a strainer that failed, and the manufacturer is going to replace it. So that work will be under warranty. And throughout the district, we have some issues with our fire systems that will be under warranty. We need to upgrade some software and hoping to get that done as well. Any questions?
The weather-related delays, the softball and baseball field, what impact will that have on cost?
That will not impact our cost. That is what we believe. We have not heard anything.
There hasn't been any mention of that costing additional to the project.
So I know that they were anticipating already to go to Homestead after this. So Homestead's 100% of their projects put off now for next spring. So they were totally anticipating to finish this project. Just
Any other questions for Judy? Thank you as always for keeping us current and facilities up to date. All right. And I guess before we move into closed session, I just want to make sure that the staff recognizes. So the report card, after discussion at the committee level and then discussion at the board, kind of seems anticlimactic. There's just so much work and effort that goes into that each and every year, and each and every year leading up to each and every year. We certainly want you and your entire staff to know that we appreciate all of the efforts and the hard work and the results, most importantly, as does the community. And it just seems like a lot that we later. Okay, having been through it a couple of times, but it's not that by any stretch of the imagination, so thank you all very much. And please share that with your staff as well.
And I remember sharing with the staff, if I can piggyback on that, when we had the State of the Community. And if you remember, like when I shared that we were significantly exceeds expectations, like the room burst out in applause. Because it was the first time we'd ever done that, and it was spontaneous applause, which was really quite cool. And I remember sharing that with staff, because that is the work that they're doing, and their community's proud of the work they're doing. And that morning, we had bagels and donuts at each of our buildings. Karen and I drove those around at each of the buildings, and they got it out for all of our staff as appreciation, a small appreciation for the work that they do on a daily basis, helping our students in that way. But the community is proud of that in that way, right?
All right, then the Board of Education will convene in a closed session to, 1, consider financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, in order to discuss the availability and extent of benefits provided to some district retirees, and 2, to conduct public business regarding the transportation contract, in which competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is in accordance with Wisconsin State Statutes 1985-1, sub F and sub E. So, do I have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we'll take a roll call. Jen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And yes. All right, we are